Hi, I am Marcus Coward, representing the Student Veterans of America chapter at Bristol Community College and the Joseph A. Marshall Veteran Center. I am interviewing Lawrence Badger on Tuesday, November 19th, 2024, at the Disabled American Veterans Chapter, number 7, Meeting Hall in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Also present is Steve Reese from the Fall River Community Media, who is operating the camera, and Denny Cosmo, director of the Joseph A. Marshall Veteran Center at Bristol Community College. This interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. So, Lawrence.
Hi, how are you, sir?
Excited to talk to you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me. We're at your job.
Well,
right.
It's more than a job. It's a sense of purpose. You know, like you said, I'm originally from Brockton, Massachusetts.
Sure.
During my early years and whatnot, and I joined the military in 1998. Was released in 1999
Sure.
Due to circumstances beyond my control.
So talking about that, what inspired you to want to serve in the first place? What branch did you serve in?
I was in the Army.
You're in the Army?
I was in the
Same.
Army.
Okay.
And I always found it almost like an obligation
Really?
to serve. It's like most of the members of my family have been serving this country since the beginning,
Sure.
since its inception, and it's more like I like to follow suit, you know. And it gave me something better than where I was. See, a lot of guys. Some people join the military because they're running away from something.
Yeah.
Some people join the military because they're obligated to do it within their spirit, or and some people just join the military because the judge said join the military, go to jail.
Exactly.
So
you felt you were a little bit obligated?
You know, I just wanted a new direction. You know, it wasn't. I had it a little difficult growing up.
Sure.
I have ADHD.
Sure.
And bipolar 1, which really wasn't too much of a thing, but it kept on. There were difficulties within school and focusing and everything else. And I'm dyslexic.
Okay.
So I do, miss up my P's and my B's sometimes.
Okay.
But for the most part, I get it done.
Sure.
You know, and I was always led to believe never to leave a man behind.
Yes, sir.
So when, and of course in 1998, Kosovo was rearing up in that conflict, and that's pretty much what I was being trained to do.
Remind me, where is Kosovo?
Like
I can't even. I've heard of that conflict. I don't know too much about it.
Well, me neither, because unfortunately during my training for Kosovo,
Sure.
My battle buddy took his own life in front of me.
Wow.
So, 25 years later, it still gets to me. And they thought it would be best that I went home instead.
Sure.
So I packed up and got discharged, and they honorably discharged me because it was circumstances beyond my control.
Of course.
There's nothing I could have done about it. They
course.
have rules and regulations and everything else. I did. I guess, I drew a lot. I used to draw a lot. And then after the incident, to deal with my grief, I drew the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Oh, I'm not familiar.
Well, basically, it is in Washington, D.C., and it is a very highly honored, hallowed ground for 3 veterans buried there that are unknown.
Sure.
You don't know where they came from. You don't know what their name is, but yet we protect them wholeheartedly. And if you've ever been to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, you can feel it. You can really feel the solemn nature of the area.
Sure.
The respect that the men who guard that tomb have.
So you said that you've had family who served, close family, like your father. Do you have siblings?
I do have siblings. I do have a brother. He did not serve. My cousin Matt, he served in the 10th Mountain.
Sure.
He's part of the Afghanistan-Iraqi wars.
Wow.
And as far as my grandfather Steve was Army, a lot like history back in the day. Because back in the day, that's what you did.
So I was going to ask, did you have a lot of friends that you knew, or the people around you, were they also joining?
No, not really. I mean, it was something I kind of decided on my own, without too many
Other voices. Yeah, other opinions.
Because I didn't want to hear, well, you shouldn't join the military because of this, or you shouldn't do. My mind was made up. I wanted to join the military. I wanted to serve. I wanted to be of service.
Yeah.
And I wanted the education they offered
Sure.
me and this, that, and the other thing. And it was very difficult to find out where I fit in the society social standards.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, here I am. I have ADHD, and bipolar. I figure, okay, well, as long as I'm taking the meds, I can do my job.
No, what MOS did you choose?
I was an 88 Mike, which is a truck driver.
Okay, sure.
So I would have been responsible for bringing in the bombs, bullets, and blood. Anything that these guys needed, food, supplies, anything these guys would need for the operations that they were conducting.
Yeah.
And like I said, but however, circumstances beyond my control limited me for that. So they sent me home in '99. They sent me home with a 10% disability rating. I thought I needed more, but yet I was one of those veterans that were, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just going to deal with my life.
Yep.
I'm going to deal with my issues my way, and if nobody likes it, too dang bad.
Sure.
But I come to find out, that was probably not a good idea.
You should have went for more.
Yeah, not so much I should have went for more as I should have went to go talk to somebody.
Sure.
Right, because what happens is we hold these in. We hold the things we see and the things we do, and we hold them and it's not so much because we don't want to tell someone. We're afraid of people's reactions.
Yeah.
Oh, you did that? Don't judge me for the things that I've done. Judge me for the man that I am.
Sure.
And a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
So then a lot of stories get left untold.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't relate to the military experience. So
Right, because there used to be the old saying, if you didn't go, you don't know.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Right.
But I can totally relate to that.
Right.
So a lot of the times we hold things in because we feel like there's no one to talk to who can relate to these situations.
Exactly, and we don't want to scare up, man.
Exactly, yeah.
But your family is your best advocate and your best source.
Absolutely.
Because you don't have to tell them all the nitty-gritties. Little snippets, little things.
And they'll be there for you.
And they could, I'm sorry that happened to you, and they, and it's not because we want people to feel bad for us.
We want to get off our chest.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to get it out.
Yeah, we do.
And then a lot of guys get really angry about it, and then they lash out.
Mm.
So, we are veterans that hold things in because of it.
Sure.
And afraid to tell people and afraid of getting judged by other people. And, and I don't understand why that is, but...
Lawrence, even before we met, on the drive over here, I wanted to ask you, how seriously did the military take suicide when you served as compared to now? But I also want to ask you, how hard was it to talk about what you had been through once you had gotten out?
When I got out of the military, I didn't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't want anybody else to realize that I wasn't the super soldier I set out to be.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So I didn't want people to think that there was a kink in the armor.
Yeah.
So I didn't talk to anybody about it. And then when I finally started to talk about it, it was after I had gotten secured myself.
Sure.
It took the VA 18 years to give me my benefits.
Really?
18 years.
So I would love to talk about the VA also and your experience with the VA. But continue.
Yeah. But so it took them that long, but also it was to my own detriment.
Sure.
because I didn't go.
Sure.
You know, they'd set appointments up for me. I'd be just in a depressional mood where I didn't want to get out of bed, and you know, nobody's going to tell me how to live my life out of a book. They weren't there. They don't know. So I was really doing myself a disservice
Sure.
by not going. You know, because the VA is good for exactly that, treating what ails you and collecting your evidence for a claim. You know, so and they're wonderful people over at the VA.
Really?
But they really are, you know. However, sometimes the system leaves them handcuffed, you know. But, you know, it's a work in progress. Rome wasn't built in a day, because if it was, we'd hire their contractors.
Sure.
You know, so the VA in itself, when they started, wasn't ready for 100,000 veterans to come back all at once.
Sure.
You know, so, I mean, but other than that, they were pretty good, you know. So finally, I had my video conference with in Boston on August 3rd, 2018.
Okay.
And the law judge had read my file and everything else. And then a gentleman by Tim Sullivan.
Sure.
He was the National Service Officer at the time at the JFK in Boston. And the judge called him in.
Okay.
And he simply had put in his hand over mine. And I'll never forget his words. Kid, I got you.
Wow.
By the time I was done with that interview, he had called in like 6 people from different departments and told everybody that he needs help. You need to do these things, man. I mean, you need to help him get a safe team, put it together, get him into treatment and everything else. By the time I left that building, I felt like $1 million.
Really?
Right? I had some retroactive money in my account, driving down 93. I'm looking at my phone, and you know you're not supposed. Don't ever play with your phone when you're driving.
Yeah,
It's just
don't drive in Texas.
Never do that. But I looked at it, and it said $10,500.
Wow.
And I said to myself, that man just changed my life.
Yes.
So that I immediately went out and sought, what could I do to help?
Sure.
Because the worst part of coming home is not having a purpose.
Sure, absolutely.
You know,
Feeling lost.
Feeling lost, sitting in your house, twiddling your thumbs, wondering what happened to your life.
Yeah.
You know? So I encourage everybody to get active within the military, within the Boy Scouts, within any organization that helps other people. Because the rewards will come back to you tenfold.
Sure.
And they definitely will. You know? And so at that point I knew. I said, you know what? You know, I always had that mindset of never leave a man behind. This shouldn't happen to anybody else. I want to work for the DAV. So, but I wasn't ready. You know, I was young and I didn't know too much. So I wanted to learn. So I went through different programs and I hooked up with VRE.
What's that?
Vocation Readiness and Education.
Okay.
And Counselor Dave Dillon. Right, and I'll never forget the man's face. And he's like, so what do you want to do? I have no idea what I want to do.
Okay.
You know, oh, here, take this cognitive test. Took the test. He said, you could be a lawyer, you could be this, and you could be that. And I'm thinking, ADHD ain't going to allow me to do that. So he said, what about counseling? I said, counseling? Okay. So he sent me over to the Kiva Center in Worcester. And the Kiva Center is a certified peer specialist.
Okay.
Right? It's lived experiences.
Yep.
It's counseling through lived experiences. So the things that I've gone through that I may be able to relate to someone that I'm counseling, you know, and it's not about, you know, oh yeah, that happened to me, and it's about listening to someone's story as we're doing today, and
being able to relate to them,
knowing
where they're coming from,
and then being able to maybe give them some advice based off of my own lived experiences.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then I was able, so I did do the course. I am certified through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as a certified peer specialist.
Okay,
you know,
congratulations.
So from going from a veteran, coming home in 1999, saying I am not going to a counselor or a psychologist ever, and then becoming one.
Wow. Wow.
That alone is a purpose in itself. And to be able to see these guys, that may need counseling. Some guys don't.
Yeah.
Some guys just word of mouth. I don't really promote it too much. We are given specialties when we do have the CPS to go along with our lived experience. So I do veteran affairs, right? LGBTQIA parents and adolescent counseling, suicide prevention, and housing.
Okay.
Right, because I've used my home loan guarantee twice, so I teach other guys how to do it.
Okay.
You know, from like just simply downloading the Experian app on your phone. You don't have to pay for much. Just to get a baseline of what your credit score is and whatnot, and then finding a lender that will take that credit score or how to learn how to build it. Because you know, as long as you have 2 credit cards and 1 installment loan, you're playing the credit game.
Okay.
You know, and that's a one disservice that I think this country really does do for veterans.
Is what?
Is because in Vietnam, in that era, they didn't care about a credit score.
Sure.
When you bought a house.
Sure.
Now all of a sudden,
times have changed.
Now all of a sudden, so the 17-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid that went to Vietnam, who then tries to come back and buy a house, doesn't have the credit for it.
Yeah.
But luckily, the VA doesn't really care about credit scores. They're more worried about credit history.
Okay.
You know, because that way you can you know, prove to the government you pay your bills.
Yeah.
So I mean, so there were different vast learnings that I've gone through. Most of them were self-taught, either because YouTube's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
it's a wonderful tool, especially if you don't know something, and Google seems to know everything. Right? So you kind of learn some tricks in the trade and whatnot. But be able to do the work I am doing. Now, I'm the current commander of the chapter here in New Bedford.
Yes, sir.
And it's funny how I came about to be the commander.
Tell me about it.
Well, I had moved to New Bedford to be closer to my kids. I had one child in Fall River, and one was in Middleborough, but now is living with me in New Bedford.
Amazing.
And I wanted to be closer to the kids. So I wanted to also be part of the DAV. Like, the DAV really changed my life.
Really?
You know, without the DAV, I can honestly say I'd either be dead or in prison.
Wow.
You know, they gave me a purpose, right? So when I walked through the doors, in fact, I met James Gagnon, one of the earlier interviews, at the gas station.
Sure.
I said, hey, where's the DAV office? So he told me where it was, and I walked through the door, and then the treasurer come up to me and says to me, he says, listen, you can either be the treasurer, the commander, or a closer.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of different military organizations are closing. You know, the VFW are closing, some of them.
Why do you think that is?
Because the membership is lapsing.
Okay.
What happens is my average membership is 72 years old. Okay. We want to get the younger veterans in.
Yeah.
However, the younger veterans are trying to work, support their family.
Yeah.
So they're not always going to be readily available to have volunteer hours when they're working 40 plus hours a week. You know, so, but also you have veterans that are working but struggling to work.
Okay.
Because they don't know where the other resources is to get help.
Sure.
So when I walk through the door and the guy says you can be the treasurer, the commander, or a closing, my first thought was, I can't even balance my own budget. You sure you want me to do yours?
Yeah.
I'll do the commander's job. Okay. Well, little to me knowing, 90% administrative.
Okay.
Right? And with somebody with ADHD and it being administrative, it finds a little difficulty. So you develop little quirks, little things, ways to handle such things, and because if you try to put everything in a planner, forget about it. Okay. Forget about it. So there are different ways. Now, and I mention this because like my overall diagnosis after the military is ADHD, PTSD, bipolar 1 aggravated by military service, and dyslexia. Now, that makes me a poster child for mental illness.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But what the VA sometimes does, and every case is different, for me, they told me I had these afflictions and never told me what they were.
Oh, really?
It's like, you got ADHD. Okay, what is that? Dead silence.
Really?
right? What's bipolar? Dead silence. I had to literally look it up myself.
Sure.
What does this mean? And if the VA spent more time explaining it, that we are broken, we're different. You know? So guys that feel certain ways, or guys that can't control the Incredible Hulk within, are only lashing out because they don't have any other ventable resource.
Yeah.
So sometimes our families take the brunt of it.
Yeah.
But what the veteran needs to realize is your family is your battle buddies.
Yeah.
You know, they're your support staff. They're the ones that are going to be there until they're not, you know. So you have to be able to articulate well to them, but sometimes it's difficult when you don't know what's going on with you yourself.
Sure.
You know, so I wish the VA would educate veterans on certain conditions and what they actually mean. And they may do it privately with the veteran and the clinician and not publicize it because of HIPAA and everything else. But they never explained it to me. They never. Oh, you got bipolar. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Right. So now I also with the so I wish it was a little bit more hands-on follow-up. You know, this is what you have. This is how we treat it. You know, you're not normal. But because normalcy is just a figment of the imagination anyway. You know, society has set normalcy as you get up, you go to the bathroom, you take a shower, you have your breakfast, you go to work. Right? You come home, you pay your bills, you have your kids, and then you go to bed. And then rinse and repeat every day.
Yep.
Right? Don't go to work when you're supposed to be there. Now you've become abnormal.
Sure.
Right? So it's a fickle mistress that what normal is, because normal for me may not be normal for you.
Sure.
And that's okay, because my story is my story, your story is your story.
Yeah.
And so I don't make really any judgments on others' stories.
Sure.
Because they really don't impact my life. You know, if I relate to them, get a little bit of solace out of it and whatnot, but other than that, it is what it is.
So can I ask you, if you can remember when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you see yourself being in the military? Did you see yourself being a counselor?
No, I actually saw myself as a Massachusetts state trooper.
Really?
I did.
Okay.
I love the law.
Sure.
Right? In all aspects of the law, you know. And as I was a kid, I learned most of the law by breaking it.
Sure. Yeah, by trial and error.
Yeah, it's like, what can I get away with and what can't I get away with? And yes, I've had incidents where, you know, law enforcement were involved, and but my aunt says it best. I can step in it and still come out smelling like a rose.
Sure.
So, by the grace of God, I got not too much trouble.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't too much difficulties, and I had an excellent family support staff. You know, but I did. I wanted to be a Massachusetts state trooper, and then my idea was I was going to join the military, do my military service, and come out and join the state police.
Yep.
Well, unfortunately, things happened.
Yep.
And I was no longer eligible for the Massachusetts State
Really?
Police.
Oh, okay. I guess that kind of makes sense.
Right. So
That's unfortunate.
Well, it is, but it isn't.
Sure.
At the same time, because my history in Massachusetts goes way back. You know, like I did one of those Ancestry.com things,
Sure.
and with the assistance of my mother.
Okay.
And I'll never call her a liar, at least to her face.
Okay.
Right? I am the grandson of Miles Standish.
Oh, really?
The Miles Standish.
Wow.
Right. I had an aunt and a cousin hung at the witch trials, Rebecca Nurse and Mary Asty.
Really?
Right. My father's side was William Badger,
Okay.
who had a wood shop in Goose Bay, Maine,
Okay.
who built ships for George Washington.
Wow.
And then his sons, Richard Giles and Nathaniel. Nathaniel went to Connecticut to become a lawyer. I'm not too sure what happened to Richard. Actually, that's my father's father.
Sure. Okay.
And not too sure because he left my father when they were young. And then Giles was one of the first 91 proprietors of a town called Newbury.
Okay.
Not Newburyport, because that came after. It was Newbury and Byfield.
Okay.
So he was given 122 acres of land.
Sure.
The schoolhouse still stands, along with the monument of the first 91 proprietors.
Sure.
So I have a deep-rooted history from Massachusetts.
Sure.
Right? And one of the biggest things that I argue about with people is when Miles Standish was ordered, by the way, because he was he wasn't actually a pilgrim.
Okay.
He was a military attaché sent by the King and Queen of England to make sure the pilgrims didn't die.
Okay.
And to report back what he saw. Well, when the colonists got Governor Bradford, right, Governor Bradford ordered him and his men to go secure land for the Nemaskan Indians. So, no, and of course, the misinterpretations of stories and this, that, and the other thing made him sound like he was just, doing that because, well, he didn't like them.
Sure.
He was given an order.
Sure.
And in my family, you given an order, you follow that order.
Sure.
It's a different time. So it definitely was a different time. So yeah, I'm kind of proud of that. I'm kind of like, okay. So I got the North Shore and the Plymouth area pretty much covered with my family.
Sure.
And as far as Salem too. So yeah, that was pretty fun to find out.
Have you been able to educate your kids about your family history?
Well, yeah, sometimes, and then sometimes it's, I don't want to lecture, Dad.
Sure,
I'm
sure,
like,
sure.
yeah, you know what? You'll find out if that interests you.
Sure.
Because what interests me may not interest my kids. And
so, do you still draw, by the way?
no, I gave up drawing after I got out of the Army.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really draw no more. I'm more into history.
Sure. Yeah.
The history of things, law. What is and what should be and whatnot, and other things. And
So I want to ask you this question also. For your kids,
yeah.
One, would you recommend military service for them? And two, how do you think they would fare in basic training?
With my children in particular, no. I would not recommend military service for them.
Why not?
Because I already did. I went so they wouldn't have to.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the military is a great institution, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Right,
Yeah.
it's not for everyone. And unfortunately, I have children of alternative lifestyles.
Okay.
All right, I have one daughter that is alternative, and one transgender daughter.
Okay.
Right. So my child actually asked me one day, says, "Dad, do you mind that I'm a girl now?" And I said, "Kid, I don't care if you're a boy or a girl, as long as you respect yourself and the other people around you that deserve it.
Sure.
You live your life the way you want to live your life. You present yourself to the world as you see fit. It's not my story, but I will be there to protect you when people are afraid." And that was the end of the conversation.
That's a great answer, by the way.
Well, that should be the answer, because you know what? It's not. People need to worry about what they're doing, and when it comes to children and whatnot, yeah, certain ages are too young to know what's going on.
Sure.
But with the evolution of technology and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and all that, these kids know more than most adults these days.
Yeah.
They
may not know everything, but they know a little bit to ask questions.
Right.
Yeah.
They know certain things.
Yeah.
And they may not know everything, but you know what? Do we?
Yeah, exactly.
Because the moment you think you know everything is the moment you need to go back to school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, when it comes to my kids, I will protect them as much as I can, like I would do anybody else. I mean, they're your kids. Of course, you're going to protect them a little bit more.
Sure.
But you have to give them the room to grow themselves, right? Because it isn't about what you did. It isn't about what you think is proper, right? It's giving them enough rope, right, to either, in layman's terms, hang themselves, or to thrive longer.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, you know, so yeah, when it comes to my kids, I kind of let them grow, but at a safer distance where I can step in as needed.
Yep.
And then, you know, and eventually they'll grow up and have their own lives and have their own stories and tell their own lies.
So, do you have any ideas as to how we can increase young membership in organizations like this, in the military in general?
Well, in the military in general, I mean, stop starting wars. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, and it goes, and I grew up in the era of Rocky Balboa.
Okay.
And Rambo and everything else, and all those, you know.
The cool guys, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, let's be tough and, you know, shoot some guns.
Let's do all that.
Yeah.
But, you know, for the most part is that there's always going to be a war somewhere.
Sure, yeah, always.
Whether or not the United States gets involved in that war, you know, it all depends.
Sure.
Because we definitely want to protect our interests, but we also want to protect human life.
Sure.
But if we become the world's police, then you're not giving other countries room to grow.
Yeah, do they want that?
Yeah, right. It's like, you know, oh, we think you need it, so we're going to come over and enforce it. Well, wait a second.
Yeah, like
we've been fine for 100 years, 1,000 years, and now you're going to come over and tell us how to run things? Well, that's like a new boss coming in and saying, hey, everything you've learned and everything you know, forget about it. We're going to do it our way. Well, yes, that works to a point, and then it doesn't. But to encourage people to join the military, between the travel and the education that you will get, and the discipline that you will get.
Yes, the discipline.
Right? It's worth more than $1 million.
And you can't get anywhere else.
Well,
it's hard to, at least.
Well, it's more than difficult to get it anywhere else than the military. And, you know, if somebody was thinking about joining the military, absolutely. You know, and if you can get into, like, Mass Maritime, and you can get into West Point, right? I mean, those are good. Annapolis, like any of those schools and whatnot. And it's more of a calling than a recruitment. You know, everybody wants to recruit you into the military.
I totally relate to that.
Right.
I myself remember when I was in middle school going on the Go Army website.
Right.
I always personally had an interest in it, you know, not coming from anywhere else in my family.
Right.
So I agree with that.
Right. Even at a young age, because these kids are so educated these days, they know what they're going to do by the age of 10.
Yeah.
Right? They know where they want to go. They know what schools they want to go to. They want to know. They would know if the military is good for them so that they can pay for school, which is one of the greatest benefits of the military.
Yo, absolutely.
Is the education benefits that you can get from it and whatnot. But you gotta allow the younger generation to make their mistakes, right, and chase their own dreams. And these parents need to stop forcing their dreams down their kids' throats. You know, you should do this and you should do this. Well, that's a good suggestion, but I'm going to do this.
Yeah. Will you still support me?
You know,
yeah, exactly.
Will you still support me?
Yeah.
And in some instances, parents won't support the kid.
Yeah.
You know, but you have, and it's hard, especially when it's coming from a parent, right? But you want to be able to, you have to be able to strap up your bootstraps, dust yourself up, and move yourself forward.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to hand you anything. You have to go get it yourself.
Yeah.
You know? So if you want to be in the military, join the military.
Sure.
If you want to be a counselor, be a counselor. Go to school for it. Because my old man used to say to me, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yes, sir.
Right? And I love what I do. I was granted my 100% disability.
Really?
Which alleviated a lot of stress.
I bet. Congratulations.
Right? Especially with finance and everything else. And he gave me a fighting chance, right? Will every veteran get 100% that applies? No, they're not going to get 100%. But some help is better than no help.
Sure.
And being able to talk to somebody about what's going on with you, because when I walked into the counselors and the doctors over at the VA, I'm like, oh, they're going to judge me, they're going to sit there. Nope.
Wow.
Just like me and you, we're having a conversation. These are the things that are bothering me, and then the doctor gives you suggestions on how to, or even medication may be warranted. But like, not every veteran wants to take medication.
Yeah.
Because it takes 21 days to make or break a habit. You want to quit smoking? Stop smoking for 21 days. You'll never smoke a day in your life. Ever start that. When the docs give you pills, you got to take it for like 2 weeks so your body can acclimate to them.
Yep.
And then maybe you'll start feeling a little bit better. And then I love it when the guys are taking medication and then they turn around and say, oh, I'm fine, and then stop taking it.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You're only setting yourself up.
Yeah, you're cheating the system. Yeah.
Right. You want to be able to progress forward within your story.
Yeah.
Right. And people make decisions based on emotion without the benefit of intellect.
A lot of the time.
99% of the time.
Yeah, a lot of the time.
People make decisions based on how they feel.
Yeah.
If they stop and think about what they're doing and how it will affect their lives and the other people around them, if it affects them. Not everything affects other people.
Sure.
Right? Like me or you. I can get up, I can make a sandwich when I want, I can take a nap when I want.
Yeah.
I can go to the store when I want. So when I start involving other people, that's when life starts getting a little difficult.
Yeah.
And so like I love doing what I do. Absolutely. So and part of the ADHD is I get off track a little.
So do you see yourself staying here for the foreseeable future?
Well, I like anybody else. Like we are all volunteers here at the DAV. None of us get paid, especially in the local chapter level, and sometimes even in the State Department. Right? We are volunteers, so none of us get paid.
Sure.
And we love what we do. Because of what we do, we get to empower other veterans to stand on their feet. Because the veteran that walks through the door could remind you of where you were.
Yeah.
And then how bad and difficult you had it. And all you want to do is make it better for that guy. Right? Now, I can't promise anybody's going to come in and fill out some paperwork and get their 100% like that. I can't promise that.
Yeah.
It's not up to me. It's not up to the VA. It's up to the Veteran Benefit Administration.
Interesting. Okay.
Because there are 5 components. There's the VA Medical Center,
Okay.
the Veteran Benefit Administration, the Board of Veterans Appeals, the DOD, and the Oceanic groups.
Really?
Right?
Okay.
Are all governed under the VA
Sure.
umbrella. So when these guys walk into the VA and say, I'm here to apply my benefits, and the VA clinician says, we don't do that here. Right? I've never heard one of those clinicians say, go see the DAV. Go see the VFW.
Yeah.
Go see the American Legion.
Yeah.
They don't say that. They don't let the veteran know where they need to go.
Yes, correct.
To file the paperwork. Now, we at the local chapter level are chapter service officers. We are the military's, not the military's, the civilian version of paralegals.
Really?
We get all the particulars, your name, your address, your conditions, right? And then we submit them to the National Service Officer, either in Providence, Rhode Island, or in Boston, Massachusetts. And these guys are the National Service Officers that will stand in front of the Veteran Benefit Administration and plead your case.
Really?
Right, for you, right? And collect all the evidence that's needed. Because when a veteran comes in through the door, they are to fill out the power of attorney. That's over their claim, not their life, right? And then the letter of intent, which puts the VA on notice that we intend to file a claim, and it gives the veteran 1 year to collect the evidence needed to support that claim.
Sure.
So see how the lingo turns into like law?
Yeah.
And lawyers and things. But we're not lawyers. We don't take a percentage. We do it for free because we have been where that veteran is. So when a veteran walks in and says, I'm cold, hungry, and scared, we know where to bring them because we've been there. So it's a lot of hands-on and remembering, and sometimes it's a little rough for some guys, remembering what once was, and then trying to figure out how, because each veteran is individual.
Absolutely.
The circumstances have changed, and they may not be the same circumstances that you faced, but a little relevant. So what's good about being a CPS and learning how to do that, and if anybody wants to be a certified paraspecialist, I employ them to go try.
Really?
And I took the course because I didn't know how to talk to other guys.
Okay.
I didn't know how to talk to other veterans. Yes, I was a veteran. Yes, I did that, and I was there and everything else. But it's still dealing with people.
Yeah.
It's dealing with emotions. Stress, anxiety, depression. You've seen that movie Inside Out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the new one, Inside Out, where they add anxiety.
Yeah.
Right. See, the generations may be different, but the emotions are still the same.
You're right.
Because no matter how many years we separate, right, we bleed and break the same way.
Yeah.
We have the same emotions.
Yeah, we do.
And so it's easy that way in order to counsel other people as long as you can identify the emotions that they're having.
Sure.
And because when you're mad, when you're sad, when you're happy, when you're overly excited, all these things, right? Like my brother Danny, right? He passed away, right? Well, I was at Laconia Bike Week.
Okay.
Right? And it was difficult. It was real difficult to deal with that. And so I'm up at Laconia, right? And it's got to be like 8 o'clock at night, right? And I'm outside. I'm smoking a cigarette, which I don't recommend, but it is what it is. And then my body just started shaking.
Wow.
I started crying.
Okay.
Right? Well, my brother just died.
Sure.
And but I was of mind. I knew it was happening. Now, most veterans, when they start to cry, they're just, that's it, no more, And then, of course, I was always raised, if you cry, you're weak.
Yeah.
No, it's not true. So I started crying, and my body started shaking.
Yeah.
Right? And I was of mind because I knew it was happening. And I let it. And I just let it.
Good. Good.
And by the time I came out of it that next morning when the sun was shining and everything else and I was getting ready for my day, I felt like $1 million.
I bet.
Because it was like all that stress and anxiety and emotion, right, had come to pass and the body just had enough. And it just wanted it to be released. So it happened. And I'm a better man for it. So anybody that needs a cry, do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just do it. You're not weak because of it. It's not going to change your life.
You're hurting yourself by keeping it in.
Right. It's
by
stress
bottling it up.
It's stress, it's anxiety. You can you can have a heart attack.
Yeah, it can kill you.
You can get alopecia. And I don't know if you know.
I've heard of it. I don't know of it. Oh, okay.
It's hair loss.
Sure,
It's little spots in your head.
Yeah, I remember.
That's lost. There's different avenues. There's different things you can do.
Can I ask you, what's your opinion on homelessness and veterans and in New Bedford, in Massachusetts? Do you feel like we're in a crisis, or
we're not doing enough?
We're not doing enough.
We're not doing enough.
Okay.
You can give a veteran money and a place to live, but if you don't give them treatment, you're setting them up for failure.
Sure.
And as far as housing, you know what? We're a country that prints our own money.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't understand, and we have land.
Yeah, plenty.
Plenty of land. And then you see these things like pellet homes.
Yep.
Tiny homes.
Yep.
They need to do more. You know, and it's not just about the veterans, because, and I'll tell you, but on the same comment is, if you take care of your veterans, we will go back for everybody else.
Ooh, wow.
It's because what we do.
Yes.
You know, so if you get your veterans into the system, into the VA healthcare system, right, and which is basically one big insurance company.
Wow.
You know, you go in there for treatment. You got co-pays. If they have a threshold, you know,
You're
but
right.
you get free care if you can't meet that threshold, or if you're deemed 100% disabled.
Sure.
But if you're making $72,000 a year, right? And yeah, you can go to the VA, but you pay for your co-pays and you pay for your prescriptions. And some of the guys are like, well, why do I have to pay? Because of your ability to pay, it allows the guys who can't to go.
Sure.
You know, people don't realize that. Yeah. So then they're like, well, you know, but as long as, like, HUD-VASH needs to be improved.
What's that?
It's housing for veterans.
Okay.
It's a program that they can do. But yeah, if you take care of the veterans and you make sure that they're squared away, you know, they'll do exactly what I did. You know, they'll go, because when I got home in '99, I had no house. I had no job. I had no prospects. You know, I had a great support staff.
Sure.
You know, and there were days I was sleeping on the street. You know, but for the most part, not everybody has a support staff.
Yeah.
You know,
A lot of people don't. They don't have a family or support staff. Yeah,
right, exactly. So it's like, well, what do? You know? So yeah. The VA hospitals, they got all this land. You know, you got VA Providence, you got VA Brockton. You know, no, sorry, the mic fell off. Build some barracks.
Wow.
Build some barracks.
Yep.
You know, Otis Air Force Base. Build some barracks. Put homeless veterans in it.
Yes, sir.
Right. Put them in the avenue to succeed themselves.
Yep.
You know, don't just sit there and say, well, you're homeless, there's nothing we can do. There's programs for that. Yeah, we have the VTH. In New Bedford, we have the Veteran Transition Housing. They're limited on funds. The DAV has a housing incentive program up in Leominster and Gardner and other organizations where a veteran can fill out applications, and you got to be vetted and everything else, and it's a process. But if you want to help these guys now, get an open lot, stick some pellet homes in it, put them in it, put some clinicians in there. Let's go to work.
It's not complicated. We have the money to
That's
do it,
the
but
thing.
it's just not the initiative.
That's it, and that's the key word: complicated.
Yeah.
Everybody makes things complicated.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to make sure you don't make this one matter. You got to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's. You got to make sure you got to really, because when we're in a war zone, we don't make sure none of that happens. We make sure we survive.
Yes.
You know? So, again, give us a break. You know? Take some dormant land. The city owns plenty of land and buildings.
Yeah.
You know?
Let's stop making excuses and let's start actually doing action.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's just fine. And some of the veterans, they don't want help. You know?
Why do you think that is?
Because they don't want to fall in a government that let them down in the first place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Vietnam veteran guys, Korean War guys, even Afghanistan guys. The government let them down. They promised them a bunch of stuff and did not deliver.
Really?
That's one of the reasons why I, was so homeless, hungry, and scared for the first time when I came back, was simply because there was nobody there to say, hey, go over here and they'll help you.
Yeah.
The VA will help you. They never told me about the Veteran Benefit Administration. They never told me about the Board of Veterans Appeals. I had to learn that all on my own.
Yep.
Right? And I had to go through the process on my own. And it was difficult to do. But if they would stop making excuses and stop leaving it to these veterans at their own devices and say, hey, figure it out, well, if I could figure it out, I probably wanted to left the military.
What are we talking about? Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah. So they need to turn around take some of these commercial areas, take some of these outside investors that are letting their properties go by the wayside because all they care about is getting a check.
Yes, correct.
Fine, so throw some sanctions on them. Either clean your property or we're taking your house. All right, either and yeah, this eminent domain.
Oh, eminent domain?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like we're going to take this property eminent domain, right? Do it. You know, if this property, like there are, I think there's a nursing home that closed actually on Ashley Boulevard here in the city.
Okay.
Put veterans in it.
Yes.
Take some of the hotels, put veterans in it.
I think that all the time. All these abandoned buildings.
The Ash Street Jail is closing.
Yes, I heard that.
Put veterans in it. You know?
Yeah.
It costs less money to convert a building than to build a new one.
Ooh.
And if you keep on digging holes into the ground, eventually we're all going to fall in.
Sure.
So stop digging. Stop making yourself gloried by digging holes in the ground and put together things that are already here.
Let's reuse.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
You reuse it, repurpose it, and get it done.
Yeah.
You know? And it's hard. Oh, who's going to man these facilities you're talking about? And we're soldiers. We can govern ourselves.
Yes. Like you're letting that question stop you from even getting started.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why? You got hope in one hand, and you know what's in the other. You know? So it's like, stop making excuses. Stop playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, this is not going to work because of what? It's like, almost like Congress. You got Republicans over here yelling. You got Democrats over here yelling.
You don't get anything done.
Nothing getting done.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to tell me something's not going to work, you better have a better idea on how it's going to work.
And you better at least try it first.
Absolutely.
At least try it, you know?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or have a better idea.
Don't just say,
we're out of luck.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Not going to work. No. And then not have a backup plan on saying, why isn't it going to work? What can we do to make it better to work?
What are you going to do to support this idea?
Right, exactly. And then you got guys, you got politicians that just want a paycheck.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to really help. You know, we have a wonderful mayor.
Really?
In New Bedford, yes. Mayor Mitchell is one of the best.
Okay.
Right? He's got so much going on in the city, and the city is so diverse, right? He doesn't have to put veterans first. He doesn't have to do these things, but he does it.
So you felt supported by Mayor Mitchell?
Oh man, yeah. He's a politician.
Sure.
He can only do so much, you know, with what he has, and it takes other people to be supportive of his ideas and things that we need, that the city needs. Yes, and the city needs housing. And the city needs housing for veterans. And migrants, you know. I mean, I'm not a fan of people breaking into our country, but eventually we broke in too.
I mean, sure, it might have been.
Christopher Columbus, right? Or American Vespucci, pick one.
I mean, I was brought here, but I totally understand where you're coming from.
Right, you're a DACA kid.
A what?
A dreamer. Your parents, you were brought to the United States?
Because of slavery.
Okay, what do you mean? Elaborate on you.
Slavery. What do you mean? My
your ancestors.
Yeah, my ancestors were brought and.
Okay, so that's how you ended up here. See,
yeah.
Like same thing with migrants, and like you had no choice.
Yeah.
You had no choice. They don't have a choice.
Sure.
They're little kids. They're brought into this country, right? And the people that have been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
Leave them alone. They've been here for 20 years. They've been paying their taxes. Leave them alone. Right?
Yeah.
You know, it's the people that are coming over the border now, no jobs, no prospects, and everybody wants welfare. Right? You can't even give welfare for the people that are here.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you got 50,000, 60,000 migrants coming in, and Massachusetts has a right to shelter law. So
that's what I'm concerned about is the already existing homeless population that we have,
right,
on top of the incoming immigrants and
right, but
servicing them
But it's not that difficult to service all of them.
Yeah, I think it could be done. Yeah,
It absolutely can be done.
Sure.
You know, and English as a second language should be taught in schools.
Sure.
Right? And you know, they just voted down that MCAST.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You know how you replace the MCAST?
How?
Teach them civics. Civics was taken out of the schools. Teach these kids how a law is made.
Yeah.
How a vote is. Teach them parliamentary law. Right? Then when the kid has an idea saying this ought to be a law, they know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, don't just sit there and teach them, well, this is the way the world works, and if you don't like it, too bad. But, yeah, so, I mean, other than that, I mean, there are vast, you could have this conversation all day long with different subjects on what the country should or country shouldn't do, right? But for right now, just be good to each other.
Just be good to you. So would those be some of your last words that you'd want to leave for the audience?
Yeah, I would say that love your family, know your story, figure out what chapters you want things to be in,
Sure.
and have fun writing it.
Yes, sir.
Don't really worry about what the guy next to you is doing unless he needs help.
Yes, sir.
Because sometimes that board's a little heavy, needs an extra paddle buddy to pick it up.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, that's what I would leave to the world and the Library of Congress is, you know what? If we keep doing what we're doing, there is no going to be a world left.
Correct.
But if we change now, we have a fighting shot.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Well, thanks for talking to me, Lawrence.
You're welcome.
It has been a real pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. You have heard Lawrence Badger here with Marcus Coward with Bristol Community College and the Student Veterans of America. And we thank you for watching.